Step into a space where angles meet warmth, where precision dances with texture, and where each layer tells a quiet story through the grain of timber. That's the magnetic pull of layered geometric wood wall art. It isn't just about design, it's about dimension, rhythm, and the way natural material can be bent to follow the beat of human imagination. These pieces don't simply hang on walls, they command attention. They ripple with form and intention. They catch light in subtle waves, shifting with every hour of the day, and create a dialogue between order and nature. The foundation of every layered geometric piece is contrast. Straight lines carved from organic matter. Mathematical patterns shaped from imperfect wood. Triangles, diamonds, hexagons, shapes that feel crisp and clean but never sterile because they're built from something once alive. When seen from a distance, it might look like modern digital design. Up close, though, the knots, textures, and grain lines break that illusion, anchoring the artwork in something far more tactile and human. The process begins with selection. Species like birch, maple, oak, cedar, walnut, each chosen for a different characteristic. Birch for its pale smoothness, walnut for its deep cocoa tones, oak for its muscle and texture. Sometimes reclaimed wood enters the mix, planks from old barns or floorboards torn out of century-old homes. These scraps, worn and weathered, carry stories in their fibers. Even their nail holes become part of the final rhythm. Then comes the planning. Artists sketch and measure, but the best designs often evolve in layers. There's something almost musical about the build-up, like a song with repeating rhythms and unexpected pauses. One triangle leads to another. One segment of parquet intersects with a ring of circles or an exploding starburst. The geometry expands in waves or rotates outward like ripples from a dropped stone. Each layer stacks atop the last, just a hair's breadth above it, creating shadows that deepen the structure. These shadows aren't painted. They're cast naturally by the depth of real wood, reacting to the sun and room lighting in ways that never repeat. Laser cutters or CNC routers are sometimes used to get perfect angles, but they're only part of the process. Much of the true work happens by hand. Sanding edges so they don't chip. Lining up dozens of strips with absolute patience. Gluing with careful precision so that every piece lays flush against the last, creating visual harmony without gaps. There's no room for guesswork. One misaligned piece in a layered design can throw off the whole rhythm. But when it works, when every shape clicks into place, the result is breathtaking, like looking at a frozen moment of architecture. Some pieces lean toward symmetry. Mandalas built from slats of pine, painted in graduated tones. Each ring more detailed than the last, radiating with quiet energy. Others are chaotic, fractals of rectangles colliding at skewed angles, like shattered city grids. Still others mimic landscapes, mountain peaks in graduated layers, valleys in shadowed recesses, trees hinted at through staggered triangles. Abstract, yes, but deeply rooted in the patterns we instinctively recognize. Color enters the picture next. Sometimes the natural hues of the wood are enough. Walnut browns, honeyed maple, pale ash, deep red cedar. But other times stain and paint are used to push contrast. Charcoal blacks next to bright amber. Cool blues against warm golden tones. Whitewashed finishes beside deep espresso stains. These color choices can transform the same pattern into completely different moods. A dark version feels moody, bold, dramatic. A lighter one feels airy, meditative, calm. Finishing touches define the piece. A thin border might frame the entire artwork, giving it boundaries like a canvas. Or the artist might let the geometry spill past the edges, suggesting the design goes on infinitely beyond the frame. Some seal their pieces with matte varnish, allowing the raw wood grain to breathe. Others go glossy, reflecting light for a polished, modern feel. And once mounted on the wall, the piece becomes more than decor, it becomes atmosphere. Layered geometric wood art plays with depth. That's its true magic. Unlike flat prints or paintings, these works step out from the wall. They invite movement. Viewers instinctively shift side to side to catch how the light interacts with the layers. Morning sun grazes across the raised edges. Afternoon light sinks into the cracks. At night, under artificial lighting, the shadows deepen, and the piece transforms again. It's never static. It's alive with the room. In modern interiors, especially minimalist spaces full of white walls and clean furniture lines, these wooden artworks provide contrast. They warm up the environment, soften it. A large circular piece above a couch becomes the heartbeat of the room. A set of smaller squares hung in a row create rhythm down a hallway. Even in commercial spaces, lobbies, waiting areas, restaurants, these pieces elevate the atmosphere. They suggest intention, care, style that doesn't scream but definitely speaks. Some artists incorporate mixed materials, strips of copper, brass, or blackened steel inlaid between wooden layers, resin poured into carved-out grooves, mirrors behind raised elements to double the depth. Others experiment with lighting, embedding LED strips along the frame or behind certain shapes so the piece glows, becomes kinetic, even sculptural at night. The more layers, the more possibilities. Each added depth multiplies the light play. These pieces often become heirlooms, not because of their age but because of the energy they hold. They don't fade into the background. They draw attention. Guests pause to examine them. Fingers reach out to touch. People ask, "How was this made?" Or, "Is that real wood?" The art connects design with craftsmanship, technology with tradition. It bridges the gap between the digital and the tactile. And they're not mass-produced. Each one takes time. Days, sometimes weeks. Sanding, cutting, testing layouts, staining samples. There's no rushing a layered geometric piece. It resists shortcuts. That's what gives it soul. Even those who try their hand at DIY versions come away with more respect for the process. It's not just gluing triangles onto a board. It's learning patience, learning balance, learning how shadow can become part of structure. The beauty is in the details. The thin bevel on a parallelogram edge. The way the grain in one triangle flows upward while the one beside it flows across. The tiny 1 mm gap between two painted pieces that creates a subtle border. These aren't mistakes, they're choices. And they accumulate. They form patterns that reveal themselves slowly, only after minutes of looking. That kind of attention doesn't just show, it transforms a space. It makes the room feel more thoughtful, more alive. Some of the most powerful pieces are the most restrained. A simple grid of black stained squares, each offset just slightly, so shadows fall in sequence. Or a triangle-based wave, building from light maple at one edge to deep walnut at the other. These pieces don't overwhelm, they invite calm. They offer focus in a world full of noise. But others go maximalist and they do so unapologetically. Dozens, sometimes hundreds, of individually cut slats layered in intricate, mind-bending fractals. Spirals that seem to move. Patterns that appear three-dimensional even though they're built from flat materials. These are statement pieces, art you don't just notice, you remember. Layered geometric wood wall art is design at its most deliberate. It's what happens when you take raw wood, strip it down to exact shapes, and build those shapes up into something that doesn't just hang, it stands. Depth, pattern, shadow, repetition. All cut, stacked, and aligned with cold logic and warm grain. This is not the kind of wood art you stumble upon in nature. It's crafted, carefully, methodically, piece by piece. Triangles, hexagons, diamonds, arrows. Sharp lines that point your eyes exactly where the artist wants them to go. It's like modern architecture for your walls. But instead of steel and glass, it's made of oak, walnut, birch, materials that still carry warmth, even after being sliced to precision. The magic comes from the layers. One cutout sits on top of another. Patterns repeat, not flat but stacked. The bottom layer sets the rhythm. The next builds tension. The third might break it. Some pieces rise just a few millimeters, others almost leap off the backing. Light hits each tier differently. Shadows stretch between cuts. From the side, it looks like a city skyline made from geometry. From the front, it's pure pattern. Color plays a role too, but it's not paint slathered on. It's contrast by wood tone. A pale maple triangle stacked over a charcoal-stained oak panel. A bright pine burst framed by deep walnut. Some artists stain each layer slightly different. Others let the natural color do the talking. The effect is always the same: depth, contrast, clarity. It's wood art that doesn't hide in the background. It pulls the whole wall forward. Some pieces go monochrome, all one species of wood, letting only shadows and shapes create the drama. Others go bold, 5-6 tones layered together, creating mosaics so complex they feel like digital renderings. But every line is hand-cut. Every piece measured, placed, and glued. It's slow work, surgical. And the result shows. There's rhythm to it. You can feel it. The repetition, the symmetry, it does something to your brain. Some pieces feel like mandalas, sacred geometry in hardwood. Others feel like sound, pulses, beats, visual echoes. Still others just feel balanced, like everything is exactly where it should be. The backing matters. You might see pieces mounted on painted wood panels, solid black or white to push the geometry forward. Or maybe framed in shadow boxes, the artwork suspended within a box like an artifact. Hardware is hidden. Focus is clean. Edges are square unless they're meant to be anything but. And then there's scale. Some are small, maybe 12 inches square, perfect for tight spaces or clustered gallery walls. Others are massive, full panels that span an entryway or dominate a living room. Large or small, the effect is the same. Controlled depth. Built texture. A kind of order that invites touch even if your hands stay still. This art fits in places where chaos isn't welcome. Clean interiors, minimalist homes, spaces that want contrast without clutter. But it also fits in places where structure is needed, where walls feel too empty, too flat, too cold. A geometric wood panel breaks that blankness, not with noise but with quiet power. Making one? It's not easy. It starts with a sketch, not loose but measured. The artist maps out the layers, decides what will pop and what will fade. Then they cut. Miters, bevels, angles, each piece sanded, sometimes stained, always tested. Then comes placement. One layer glued, another stacked. Precision is everything. A crooked triangle throws the whole thing off. But done right? It's perfection without being sterile. The wood keeps it alive. Tiny grain shifts, subtle color changes, tool marks here and there. It's not factory flat. It's real. It moves with light. It shifts with shadow. It lives. People hang these pieces above beds, sofas, mantels. Offices, studios, lobbies. Anywhere that needs a focal point with structure. It's art, but it's also engineering. Design, but also soul. It's where digital minds meet analog hands, and the result is always sharp. So if you're tired of blank walls or paper-thin prints, go for something you can actually feel. Something that's been built, not printed. Something that doesn't fade into the background. That's layered geometric wood wall art. Plain, bold, built to last.